there's the.
I like that. I like that we record that. I think pretty consistently, most of our episodes start in the middle of a sentence and of us saying, let's hit record. And I like that because I think it could be a thing. It's a part of our shtick. It just shows how authentic we are.
Hit record. Start. All right. Well, here's what we were riffing on right before we hit record, just to get people ramped into this, right? Thrown into this is sort of the theme. And this is definitely something I'm stealing right from Jeff Whitmore from last episode, but is less certainty, more inquiry. And it comes up for me, and specifically around this thing, I was around keeping current matters, sort of the real estate blog, authority blog. And I don't know why I put quotes in there. They really are a real estate authority blog. It's
you can air quote something. That's actually what it's called.
Okay. It is what is really what it is. I mean, and, and they do a good job, and God bless them. I don't fault them particularly, other than it's adding to the environment this demand for certainty. Like every post, every video. I mean, I subscribe, and they want you to copy and paste their blog post. It makes to create your own authority, and that's their jam, and it's fine, except every fucking post is about how the housing market's not going to collapse and people shouldn't be scared of the recession, and it's still a good time to buy. And the last 6 recessions, prices went up 5 of the last 6. And it's all data driven, and none of it's like, I don't think they're blowing smoke. I don't think they're just pulling shit out of the air. I don't have a problem with that, but like, I don't think they're lying, but they're lying because you don't know the future. You don't know you don't know what's going to happen. Why are realtors being put in a position to predict the future and with certainty with people? Why would any, this is a real estate marketing help company, right? They're helping me with my marketing. Why would they promote or provide me with material that put me in a position of being certain about the future? And I get that authority and certainty sort of go together, but that's a problem because authority and certainty don't really go together. Authority and the willingness to be uncertain and stand flat-footed in the uncertainty that life is what builds authority, because the future is unknowable. Yeah. I'm not going to be the idiot that promotes now's the best time to buy. I don't know you. I don't know what you're dealing with. I don't know what's happening in your world that I would say to you, wow, this is the best time to buy. And this isn't the housing market's not going to collapse. I mean, it might not collapse. And there's certainly, the indicators are different than the last collapse. And there's facts about that housing prices did go up 5 of the last 6 recessions, and good, and all that's well and good. But my God,
I think, it's really interesting. I have so many things coming up for me in this conversation already. Cause, and one of those things is the polarization, the polarity, the binary thinking that, collapse, not collapse. Like, there's so much in between. Like, what do we mean by that even? Right. And it's a headline, it's a hook, it's clickbait, it's drama, and it plays on so what it feels like it does is it devolves the conversation to a sales conversation, because what I'm trying to do is motivate you to take action and not actually have an intelligent conversation with you.
Totally. And I don't know how that provides me with authority. Right. I don't know how that, I mean, look, obviously as human beings, we're fear-driven creatures. So I get why clickbait works. And I get that would be, one of my most effective lead generation tools is the 7 deadly mistakes home sellers make. So I'm not above, playing on the fear clickbait. It's just the relentless nature of demanding certainty, and the number of realtors, date the rate, marry the house, just the spewing of the company line, of there being a company line, where there could be a company line that went, I don't know.
Mm.
Let's look at your situation. What if that were the company line in real estate? What if KCM and Tom Ferry and whoever else, and I think Tom Ferry does a way better job at this than most, is the company line was, I don't know. Let's look at your situation. I got your back.
Yeah.
And that's what we were, that's who we were for people. Not people say, is the market collapsing? And the answer is, I don't know. Let's look. I got your back. Why are you asking?
Yeah. Right.
And
now
that was who we were.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then a big space for inquiry with people. Yeah. And I think I'm a little charged about it. I notice I'm a little charged about it.
I dig it. I dig that about you.
The lightning, right? Is because I really just fucking hate it. I just hate it. I hate the I hate it's not collapsing as much as the idiots on TV saying it is collapsing. You know, I was watching what's his name? Kiyosaki. You know, on some YouTube clip and or Instagram clip. And I don't know how old it is. It could be from before the last collapse. Because, you know, again, everyone is just out to get likes and views and whatever. You know, when he's talking about the recession is going to be enormous. Okay. Right. It might be. It could be.
But to your point, like the future's unknowable.
Yeah. It's unknowable. And there's no, and not only is it unknowable, but then it's complex.
Yeah. Right.
You know, it's not even if you knew the future, because you don't and you can't. And so forget about it. But when we get there, right, or we're there now in some levels, right? We are where we wanted to be 5 years ago, and here we are. It's complex. Yeah. Even if I knew what the housing market was going to do, it wouldn't give me an answer for you because I don't know anything about you yet. Yeah. So,
yeah, it reminds me of the distinction from Landmark. I feel like we bring that up a lot just because it was so instrumental in my life. But the distinction of a probable, almost certain future, that there is a way something can unfold when we stay in the patterns we stay in. And one of the patterns I think you're exposing and pointing to is this unwillingness to think for ourselves, that what we're fed and what we rely on is someone smarter than us to tell us as agents, what is the industry going to do? And I'll just go take that I'll sell that as hard as I can to my client. Oh yeah, it's not going to tank. Oh yeah, it's going to tank hard. And now we have this battle of stories. It's a story war between one perspective over the other. And so the probable, almost certain future behind this thing is that society will continue to play to polarity, will continue to click on the clickbait, will continue to not think for ourselves, and then hope that someone more certain than us saves us from the things we don't know or care to investigate.
Totally. And then we're left with our position to our clients is one of where we've positioned ourselves as certain. And so the house doesn't sell for what we promised it would sell for, because we were certain it could get this amount. And we haven't conditioned the client for, okay, here's our best guess as to where we're going to list. And I think all indicators point that this could be the case, but what's your bottom line? At what point do you pull it and not sell it? And because all those things could happen. We don't know what the neighbor's house is going to, who's selling around the corner from you tomorrow. We don't know anything about all the multivariables. And if we haven't positioned ourselves as thinkers and we haven't empowered our clients to think, we're fucked. I mean, it's just, what's the point? You know, that's a huge part of the dissatisfaction with our industry. Right. That we haven't really, that's right. That's right. Okay, what are you going to say?
Well, just the fiduciary piece of this is, I learned that script. There was a script when I was brand new in real estate. David Scott actually was the guy who taught it. It was a scripts and dialogues class, and he was talking just about fiduciary versus functionary. In fact, Gary put it in Millionaire Real Estate Agent, like that a fiduciary is irreplaceable and a functionary is replaceable. And I think what the industry is made up of is a disproportionate amount of functionary agents who could be replaced by any other agent. Why? Because they don't think for themselves. And what they do is they take the headlines and then regurgitate that to the client. What makes a client feel safe, what instills confidence in a client, is that you show your work, that you can show them how you got to your answer. But when you can't show them how you got to your answer because you don't know how you got to your answer, because you read it somewhere from Kiyosaki or somebody else, then it does not instill confidence in the client. And this is why there's a bad taste in the consumer's mouth for real estate.
Yeah, I do think that's a great distinction. I never heard that, the different, fiduciary to functionary. And I mean, that for sure is the, oh God, this is my favorite word. Oh yeah, disintermediation. Love that word. That we're allowing to happen because it's a race to the bottom for price, because we can be replaced by an app can give that answer.
Yep.
An app can give, Zillow can give his estimate and doesn't have to show its work. It just gives his estimate.
Yeah.
It doesn't show its work, and it doesn't have any repercussions if it's wrong. It's just fancy, and it's, the cheapest possible solution, free. It's there. No effort, no thinking required. And, I have a fiduciary manage my finances. And if the market goes down, I don't yell at her. I'm not like, how could you have been wrong? I'm like, we have a conversation we look that over time, the, mutual funds are the and here's the expected return, and there'll be ups and there'll be downs. And, the problem is obviously you can't dollar cost average selling a house. You're only doing it once. At one specific time, and you have, and you're organized to sell it. So different conversation, but the principle is the same.
Right.
So, and then I think if we get off the particular track of, tank, not tank, housing market, not housing market, and just look at the abstraction, certainty versus inquiry. I think there's just a world in that really this podcast and our work together, Chris, stands on is, I was struck with the conversation with Jeff last week. We don't know what leverage, legacy, and leadership looks like. We don't have an answer for how one goes about doing that. That this entire experiment, I think you like to call it, is an inquiry, is let's see, and let's see what shows up in the inquiry, and the ability, the willingness and the ability and the capacity to stand in the uncertainty and allow something new to arise is something we get very little training in. No, certainly realtors get no training in anything, frankly, but just even as human beings, the entire education system is designed to test for certainty. There's
this
just
where.
Go
ahead, sir.
No, I was waiting for you.
There's, to me, how that shows up is certainty in uncertainty. Like that's how I'll describe that, because it, like you said, it would take something to be able and willing to stand in the inquiry. Yeah. In other words, like I am so certain about thinking about it. I'm so certain in wanting to, in that it's not binary. It's not one way or the other. I'm certain that there's more here if we inquire. So I'm certain in the uncertainty. And at some level, that's I think it's important because it's distinct from the sky is falling and I'm scared and I'm anxious in the uncertainty. And so I can't stand and hold space for the inquiry. I'm too triggered by the unknown. And this is what leadership, this does come back to our L's, because to me, if you're going to lead change, which is what this experiment is about, is how do you use your business as the staging point for the social impact you want to make? And you don't know how that's going to go, but in order for you to take that first step and to move down that path of the unknown, you better be damn certain that this is what your life is for. And that's a really interesting paradox, because you're being very certain about what you're not certain about.
Yeah, you're very certain about the one way to look at it is you're very certain about the commitment
and intention.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And uncertain about the execution, the path, the
fruit,
what it looks like,
goes,
the end result, all the stuff that you don't, and yeah, I mean, that's, but can you stand in a certain intention, certainty around an intention, staying true, living true to an intention, people have agency, people experience agency in their life, true to that intention, and willing to have everything else show up around it and filter through that certainty is, that's right. That's the game here. I think that's what we're building, Yeah. And
I think that's, well, that's why.
A little bit, sorry. Hey, that was good. That was very good. I hope everyone listening got that. That's very, very good. The way we did that. We practiced that for hours, that talking over each other. It was so well executed. Very first date. I don't know if this is a good metaphor or not. So let's just check it out for a minute. But like a marriage is, we're committed to an outcome, till death do us part, better, worse, sickness, health. Yeah. It's a commitment, promise, and then everything else, right? It's funny, and I just look at it now, maybe it's my marriage and it's a particularly, good marriage, or it's certainly the only marriage I'm planning on having, is because I'm so certain of that intention, it makes the standing and the rest of the uncertainty not even a thing. Like I don't like, I don't have anything going on about the rest of it. I don't have anything going on about, what happens tomorrow. It's like, because I've got that commitment. I'm just wondering if that's a function of the strength of the commitment and my willingness to keep that commitment alive. I'm wondering if I'm wondering if there's a connection there, like a mechanism, like that's how that works. Or is it just, I happen to really be in love with my wife and it's not a useful metaphor for anything else?
Well, I think I like the metaphor, because I think that there was a time you met your wife and it felt a particular way. And you had a whole vision of what this was and a whole world that this made you feel. And you're like, I'm willing to commit to this. Like, I want this in my life. And so you made that choice. I think similarly, if you're looking at something like your life's work, you go, this is what my life is for. In my professional world, this is what I'm up to. And it would require you to, I see a lot of people set goals that are not set from the place you married your wife from. You know what I mean? Like, they set goals as speculation. They set goals as a cultural pressure to hit a GCI number, because that's what everybody else does. And if you're anybody, then you should at least hit this number. And if you're not, then you're nobody. And so there are a lot of people making marriage type commitments to business and real estate, but don't really get the world of what it is for them.
It's really good, Chris. That's first of all, commitment is speculation, right? Yeah. Well, let's see. Yeah. I think that's really a really powerful thing to begin to think about. Like, what's the commitment is the commitment is speculation, and that's one thing. And then there's the commitment as a response to a societal or business pressure of you're supposed to have that as a goal, right, which is different than the speculative one. But both are a different quality of the thing that the marriage with my wife embodies, or the the mechanism there is that wasn't something I made. I share this relatively frequently, but I remember sitting in the truck the morning after we were in her father's pickup truck. And so we got out of the hotel. We were going to go over to his house. This is the morning after we got married. And we're going over to his house for the brunch. And I remember looking over at my wife and I thought, oh, that is the woman I'm going to be with forever. Hmm. And then I thought, or maybe not. I mean, maybe not. Maybe not. You know, we don't really know. And then so what's different this morning from yesterday? What happened? The only thing that happened really was that we said something. The only thing different really between yesterday and this morning is we said something last night. Something was said. And if that thing is that if what was said's not honored, honored, you know, the way you honor anything, you know, you really honor something by taking care of it, by nurturing it, by shining it up, keeping it clean, making sure that it's alive, you know, like you bring honor to it. Yeah. If we don't honor it, then what's said turns into, you know, one of those speculative goal commitments. Like it's a goal commitment. Like, yeah, let's go for it. That would be cool if we were together forever versus we said. So I think there's for sure a methodology in keeping a commitment like that alive, like the honoring of something, you know, the speaking of something, the tending to something, the nurturing of something. Yeah.
Right.
And I think a lot of what, you know, where I struggle, and I think that is in fact what gives me the flat-footedness about the future with us, you know, me and her, is that, you know, it's now 25 years of honoring that. And, you know, there's just there's a foundation of something. There's, you know, there's that now there's, I don't know if there's a certainty, you know, but there's certainly a history.
Yeah.
And, I think it's an interesting phenomenon. Like what would it be to, you know, inside this conversation as a mechanism, or as, I don't know, I don't like the word strategy, but, you know, as a methodology, you know, that whatever it is that we commit to, you know, that social change you want to make in the world. I just noticed that for me, mine has a speculative goal. Mine has for me, a quality of, yeah, that would be great if people had agency. You know, right on. I'll play around with that. You know, I'd like that. I'm in favor of that. But I'm not going to, or haven't yet married it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Right.
Interesting.
I think it's okay to, and there's a part of courting.
For sure. Yeah. Courting. Did you say courting?
Yeah. There's a part of courting your vision, courting the thing your life is for. But I think if you don't approach it with that intent, I think that was what, you know, Jenny and I kissed dating goodbye, quote unquote. That was a book. I just quoted the name of the book. It's actually I Kissed Dating Goodbye, and I quoted it. I air quoted it. Anyway, it was this whole, in college, it was this whole push for courting and you know, that behind courting, there's an intention to get to know the person and get to know the person's family and not just try to get some ass. Like there is something more than, you know, a physical attraction here, what I'm looking for is partnership. What I'm looking for is workability, chemistry. And that would be you would approach that differently than you would if you were just playing the field. Yeah. And I think what a lot of people do with goals in business and their professional life is they play the field for a quick win. They play the field for a paycheck, a commission, a get rich quick, let's get there sooner rather than later. And the problem with that is that the minute it doesn't fulfill you, your commitment dies because you were never committed to the whole thing. You were only committed to the outcome.
And even if you get it, there's no more commitment there because it was just, you know, that's why you're left with this all there is.
Right.
Versus, you know, a real part, you know, that partnership.
Yeah.
And I suppose people get that way in their marriage. I suppose, marriages die when the future that it either
Right.
was fulfilled, or people get resigned that it's never going to get fulfilled.
Right.
It's not going to get fulfilled with this person,
Right.
Or it was fulfilled and we're moving on to something else because this actually, was
Sure.
not a lifetime. Thought it was going to take a lifetime to fulfill this, and it didn't take a lifetime to fulfill this.
Yeah.
And I think that's a,
Yeah.
integris way to resolve a marriage, is that there is no I'm either no longer committed to this future, or I'm not willing to do what it takes to fulfill that future, or that future was fulfilled.
Well, and I think that just comes back to agency, though, because now we're talking about you making choices consciously because it's what you choose, and not because you're fed up with it, or not because
you had some emotional
and I think the breakdown in society, and the breakdown in change, and the breakdown in leadership, and the breakdown in the industry, all that is the lack of inquiry, the unwillingness to inquire about what do I really want, to inquire what am I here for, to make a choice of what you say you're here for. And so what we end up with is a less integris, a less structural makeup of people taking action in the world, like people taking action for goals and rah, because that's what everybody else is doing, rather than the agency to say, this is what my life is for. I have a commitment. I'm going to court that commitment, and I will make the choice every day from here till the day I die about whether this is still the right path. But people don't have to show their work, and people don't think that way. And so, that's a gross generalization, but I'm trying to expose the problem here, right? Like that the problem is, this is why we click on clickbait, because we haven't thought about it for ourselves, and it's just easier for somebody else to tell us the headline,
right,
and then go try to sell that. Whether it's about change, whether it's about a house price and a real estate market, or it's about the political future of our country, or it's about the education system, whatever it is that somebody else who we deem smarter than ourselves has found the answer, and then we just, through the ethos of it, buy into the answer that they gave, and we don't think for ourselves. There is no inquiry.
Yeah, that's right. And we are all wired to go for the easy answer and free leads, and no cold calling, all the the 5 to 10 clients, fill your pipeline, guaranteed, all the bullshit,
pain points, benefits.
And it's none of it really is. It doesn't speak to the soul of who someone is. And what?
Well, I'm seeing how, as a society, as a culture, we've been played so many times. We go back to dating analogy. We've been played so many times by those trying to get a result for themselves that collectively now we're wising up to the game. And so this is why I think people are now looking for your process of inquiry, because if you just tell me what I want to hear, I've heard that before. And so I think the consumer's wising up. I think just humans as in general are wising up. And I think if you, as a person who sells something, doesn't start to develop your process of inquiry, people are going to take note that you're pitching a line because you don't know how to show your work. I'm more careful now about who I let into my world, and I ask better questions than I used to, because I've been sold so many times. I want to know, can you think for yourself? And do I believe in your conviction for how you got to your answer? And I'll bet on that. I don't have the answer, but I'll bet on you if you can show me how you got to your answer.
Yeah. And how you got to the answer is a path that I recognize as, it's a logical path. It makes sense to me. I hear it as a path. And you take the time to have me see how you understand the math you did, the calculus that was done here.
And that can, by the side note, not to get hung up on words, that can be an emotional calculus. It doesn't have to be data. For me, I'm not a data guy, but I for sure as hell will show you how I got to my answer emotionally.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, and the willingness to hang out, let's just go back to that for a second. The willingness to hang out while you do, I think one of the things that this community, Chris, that we're building here is useful for is to be able to sort out your own math.
Yeah.
For you to be able to articulate your own math in a environment that pulls for and is not demanding you come up with the answer right away and is willing to listen while you struggle through the problem for yourself to articulate it, solve it, create whatever's next there. Is a really important aspect of this. I just for myself sorted out a lot in this dialogue. One of the things I really whether or not the 3 people that ever listen to this ever join the community, we do this. I do this because I love the opportunity to see where thoughts go. There's a, you ever read Harold and the Purple Crayon?
Yeah.
Right. It feels like that. Like we're just taking a walk. We're just taking a walk with a crayon and seeing what happens. Harold goes for a walk, takes a purple crayon and goes for a walk. And then there's a city. And then there's, he just builds whatever there is to build when he's there. And I
love that.
And that's very, and there's a freedom in that to be able to just magic in that, just to be able to go for a walk and see what gets built with it. And I think very much that's, I'd like the community that we're building to have that aspiration that they come on a weekly basis and we go for a walk and we see what gets built and there's no other expectation than it was a good walk. And maybe something gets built that you can take with you and maybe something gets built that, you can let rattle around until something new shows up.
That's why I like these conversations for that reason too, because there is outside of a space like this for a conversation like this, the world is moving too fast to inquire. It just doesn't have time to sit still to inquire. And so it's become more important for me to find and create spaces that allow for that. And what I know is, and I have to know it, like to the point that there's a certainty about it, is that spaces like this repurposed community you and I are creating is for people who also value that, because otherwise it doesn't work. And that always gives me confidence in the moment of because at some point I'm like, do people really want this? And then my answer is those who are wired like me do.
Right.
Those people, agents like us, do things like this. Humans like us do things like this. Yeah, there is.
Yeah. I can't believe we're the only 2. Right.
No.
Right. Yeah. And that I because I know a couple of weeks ago, I was beginning to feel like it's funny. I haven't put it in these terms, but just the Harold and the Purple Crayon thing gave me, when I was in art school.
I didn't know you were in art school.
I have that's my degree is in art, fine art. And you can see how much I do with it. I used to have a real problem with my teacher. One of my teachers who I still battle with in my head. I just actually recently looked her up and found out she passed away. Just brilliant woman, Jan Groover. And I used to be like, there's so many fucking problems in the world. Why am I sitting here making art that it's like mental masturbation? This is just for my own amusement. Right. Which is, like sort of a, I can get it as a 20-year-old kind of conversation. Now as a 60-year-old, almost 60-year-old guy, I can really, the purpose of art is a whole different conversation. And the importance of having art of all kinds is a whole different, I have a different appreciation. It's at 59 than I did at 21.
Yeah.
But I know a couple of weeks ago, I was having that sort of vibe. I didn't put it in that language, but I was like, okay, are we just, playing with each other here? Is it going anywhere? What's the purpose of this? What's the outcome here? What's the deal? I had that sort of experience. And, and then after this conversation now, I'm like, oh, we're making art. We're seeing where it goes. We don't actually, have anything other than the commitment that you and I together. And really what I, the thing that's, if we're married, right, or what's the marriage part of this is something good's going to happen. Something good happens when people have the freedom to inquire. And that's, if we didn't have anything else to lean on, it'd be like good shit happens when you have the space to inquire. And, just stand there and see,
it's really good.
What kind of good shit happens.
Wow.
All right. Well, I think that's a good wrap. Good place to tie up. No?
Well, I just made me think about how the times I feel most connected to my wife are the times when there is no agenda.
Yeah, totally.
There's no goal. There's no checklist. It's that there was space to hear what the other's learning and to have a meaningful conversation. If what we all really want in life is to have a life full of meaning, to go back to Viktor Frankl, to search for meaning, to find meaning in our profession, to find meaning in our work, our goals, our vision, then, that meaning, the meaningfulness shows up in the space between the goals and the to-dos and the things. If you could give yourself space, you could find meaning. And I think that's why communities are the future. I think, and I'm sure that it's the future, and you should all bet on that it's the future because but it's what I built my commitment on, and I'm organizing my life in that for that very thing. I'm courting this vision of community because I believe what we want instinctively as humans is to feel connected, to feel seen, to have space to inquire. And what we've been caught up in for quite a while is the dating scene and the force field of business, the dating scene of business, the things that everybody is doing to try to get ahead. And we're all kind of feeling a little shallowed out by that right now.
Yeah.
We're looking for something deeper. And I think that's available, but professionally, it's going to come from not a to-do list, but a space to inquire, which is kind of, I think, the point of this whole episode. So now we can wrap.
All right, great.
I want to have the last word. Let me have the last word. I'm just oh, that's too funny. No, I really do feel like what you and I do here is just an example of what we do collectively in a community when we can work it out. That's how Jeff said it last week, I think, was working out.
Yeah. All right, good. Well, let's stop this and have that be the prompt for next week. Although I don't remember I think next week we're up. But anyway, for the next episode is, and I think, don't we have guests next time, right? Yeah. Perfect. So then that's, what would it look like for us to provide a space of inquiry for our communities, for our clients, for our communities? What if we were the space, the clearinghouse, the clearing in which my books just fell off the table, for people to inquire, more inquiry, less certainty, like that. All right, let's jam on that next time.
All right, cool. Thanks, Aaron.